Hey everyone, it's Q Storm of the Red Shirts, and I'm back to just share with you an adventure that I had a couple weeks ago. Back on May 17th, I was fortunate enough to get a ticket to see William Shatner live on stage, along with a showing of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. It was a great event. I didn't know what to expect. It took place in downtown Philadelphia at, I think the name of the place is the Academy of Music in Philadelphia. It was awesome. Visually and in terms of sound, it wasn't the best. It's like a huge, or like a big opera house, and pulled down a screen on stage, a big screen, but like a projector screen. And it wasn't big enough for the room, I don't think. And in terms of sound, because it was such a large room, it was very echoey.
I must check in before your inspection. And you.
But I'll tell you what, didn't make one bit of difference. And just like I said on the latest Red Shirts podcast, if you want to see these movies, which we've seen hundreds of times, I don't know how many times I've seen Star Trek Wrath of Khan. If you want to see it and see it like you're seeing it for the first time, go see it with a large crowd of Trekkies. It was amazing. They clapped all the right times. They laughed all the right times. They shouted at all the right times. They reacted where I have always reacted watching this film growing up. So if you want to go check out one of my recent videos that I put up where I discussed the fact that I was going to attend this event, you'll remember, if you checked it out, you'll remember that one of my fellow Red Shirts, Mr. Craig J., tried to have a little fun at my expense. Well, of course, I was trying to have fun at his expense at first, but then he turned the tables on me because he has actually gotten a photograph with William Shatner. And at the time, I wasn't able to get a ticket that allowed me to go backstage because I was told, because I got my ticket over the phone, I was told that no such tickets were being issued for this event, which I thought was strange. But then when I got there to the venue, they had a booth set up where you could go and upgrade your ticket for a mere $125 to have a meet and greet with Mr. Shatner and get a photo. Now, it wasn't much of a meet and greet, but I had to do it. $125. Listen, I paid $75 for the seat, and I thought that was like, I would have been willing to pay twice that. So, for another $125 to meet William Shatner, it was a no-brainer. So, of course, I did the upgrade. They gave me a wristband, and they gave me this patch. It's, I don't know what I want to do with it, but, it was a nice gesture. So then I went and took my seat. I was pretty close to the stage, and even though on the podcast, we had Dallas Casavant on the last show, and he asked me how many people were there. And, I got caught up. I was caught up in the moment. I said 1,500, maybe 1,000. I don't think it was nearly that many because I was able to get a ticket at the last minute, and I was pretty much maybe 6 rows back from the stage. So, I was pretty close to the stage, and, like I said, watching the movie was great. The only thing that would have made it better, like I said, we've all seen Wrath of Khan, I don't know how many times. It would have been so cool, knowing that Shatner was there, it would have been so cool if he had been on stage giving commentary during the film. Because, I don't mind if he's talking during the movie, because first of all, he's William Shatner. And second of all, I've seen that movie so many times, that would have been a nice, refreshing touch. But I tell you what, like I said, the crowd, they were so into it, I didn't mind. It made watching the film fun. And plus, as I've said before on the show, Shatner is in his mid-80s. He doesn't want to sit on stage for 2 hours talking constantly and then answering questions for an hour and a half afterwards. Then the movie started, and like I said before, everyone laughed, we applauded, we clapped at all the right moments. Some of the biggest moments of applause. One big moment was when it was one of the first scenes when Kirk walks out onto the Kobayashi Maru Bridge like a badass, and the house went down. And I remember when I first saw this movie, and this movie was one of the things that got me into Star Trek. I remember being like, oh, so that's Captain Kirk. I get it now. Okay. Another moment was when they're in the Genesis cave and he takes a bite of that apple and he just says, "I don't like to lose." Crowd went nuts. They laughed when in the Genesis tunnel when Khan reveals that he is about to take the Genesis device. Kirk grabs his communicator and he's like, "Khan, you bloodsucker, you keep missing the target." They laughed at that because it was so silly, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Of course, the biggest cheer of the house when we get that classic line. House went nuts. The roof, they screamed to the roof. They also cheered when Kirstie Alley first appeared on screen, which I thought was odd. I mean, I have nothing against her. I thought she did a great job, but I just didn't know that she was such a beloved character in this movie or in Trek lore. But apparently she is. They all laughed at the right moments, like when Bones was on screen, the moment when Bones visits Kirk at his house. I have watched this movie so many times. I love when Bones is trying to be happy and cheerful and happy birthday, Jim. Some Romulan ale, and he's all happy. And every time Bones then changes, "Damn it, Jim, why are we treating your birthday like a funeral?" I always sit and look at that like, that's Bones right there. And I was so happy when he did that on screen. Everybody else was like, "Yeah!" And I was like, it's not just me. We really are a community. They laughed when Bones was like, "Who's holding up the damn elevator?" They laughed when, well, what if they went nowhere? Well, this would be your chance to get away from it all. We all laughed together. We clapped together. We applauded together. Oddly enough, there wasn't that much cheering in the Mintara Nebula battle, which I was expecting. I was like, "Yay!" Oh, okay. We're not doing that now? All right, fine, okay. Then as soon as the movie was over, after Kirk's last line, "I feel young." And then they showed then they went into the Star Trek mantra, space, the final frontier. These are the voyages. And then as soon as that whole thing was finished and the credits started up, they didn't even make us sit through all the credits. The projector went up, stage lights went up, and then this comedian, stand-up comic came out. I don't remember his name, but he was like, "Let's get right to it. Ladies and gentlemen, William Shatner." Standing ovation. House went nuts.
All right, without any further ado, are you ready for the main event, ladies and gentlemen? Come on, make some noise. Please put your hands together for Captain Kirk himself, Mr. William Shatner.
It's embarrassing. You played that film shot 35 years ago, and then I come out. I bought an airplane ticket to hand the guy my credit card, and he looked at it, and then he looked at me. He said, "Is that you?" And he said, "My God, how time flies." Oh my God, how time flies. So, here we are.
It really was. I mean, this guy, I've said this many times, he's in his mid-80s. And although he has, a bit of a gut, the guy looked amazing. For that age, he was amazing. He was sharp. He was witty, charming, tons of charisma. He was bouncing things off the comedian. They were playing back and forth. There was a Q&A portion to the evening, and, I don't remember ever seeing an opportunity to ask a question, but all the questions were written down on cards that the comedian had. Who knows? For all I know, Shatner himself just wrote the questions himself. That's how show business is sometimes. But one of the questions on the cards that allegedly came from the audience was, if you had an opportunity to play any other character, let's say you didn't get the role of Kirk and you could play any other character, which one would you want to play? And to an uproarious crowd, he responded, "Well, I'd play Sulu." That way I wouldn't have to deal with George Takei. And that brought the house down. It's unfortunate. It was funny, but, it is what it is. I mean, you wouldn't think... It's amazing to think that you could still be that sharp at that age, but unbelievable. And he told some great stories. He got up. He was very physical. He pantomimed a lot of stuff. I did get him on film telling one of his stories, so I'll just let him speak for himself.
So they showed this film. Here's Donny Osmond going up a pole. Gentlemen, don't do this. All right? So, and the other thing he said among the lessons, he said there are flags. There are flags. A red flag, stop. There's been a terrible accident. A yellow flag, stay in line. You can't pass. You can't do anything. Stay right. Just and then the white flag, and then the checkered flag is, and you. And one more thing, gentlemen, ladies, don't get out of the car. Do not get out of. Do you hear what I'm telling you?
Don't get out of the car. Don't get out.
Don't get out of the car. Don't, Brian. I learned that lesson. Now I'm driving into the ground. Boom! Something explodes, and it's my engine. And the car goes boom, 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 and stops. And then the yellow flag, and everybody's in line, and then people are running toward me. I can't hear it because there's noise of the. I'm sitting in the phone. It's okay. I'm staying in the car. I'm sitting in the back. What? I'm staying in the car. Get out of the car, you fool! It's on fire. That's the kind of thing I know. I drive fast. That's how I know. That's what I do. I drove a NASCAR. A NASCAR. There's a big wind dam on the back of the car. So the faster you go, the more suppressed the rear end is, the more you can go around a curve. Danny McCarty talked about drifting into a turbo. No, not a NASCAR. You go fast in and faster out. That's how the car sticks. So I had to go. I had to get that car up to 190 miles an hour in North Carolina in order to qualify. And I've been going 170 because my whole instinct was to slow in, fast out. Gotta hold that accelerator down. Gotta hold that accelerator down. Now I'm coming to the curve. I've studied judo and jiu-jitsu. I'm pretty good. So the whole thing's about a key. Releasing your energy. Releasing your energy. You see these guys chopping things? What they do is they put all their energy into the strike. That's the key, man. That's your key. So as I'm approaching that curve, I know that I have to do everything in my power to put that accelerator down as I'm going around the curve. I'm going around the curve. When I saw, because there's cameras in the car, the photograph. When I saw the show, my key, I was going. So now I'm driving across the desert.
Very fast.
And I'm in the captain's uniform, and I'm driving 100 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. It's dark.
Oh no.
And I pull over, and one of the chips, California highway patrol guys with their hats, and slick uniform, and dark glasses. And it's black. He's got dark glasses. He comes up. I see your license, sir. I hand him my license. He reads it. Get out of the car, please. I get out. I stand in front of him, and I can just make out through the dark glasses, he's looking at me up and down. And he says to me, "Where are you going so quickly?" I gotta go for it. I said, I gotta get to my spaceship. He says, hands me back my driver's license. He makes his way back to his patrol car, and he just stands there, And I'm making my way back to my car thinking, is he gonna let me go? But I don't want to look back. You know, there's always that shot in the movie where the guilty person goes, I don't want to look back, but there was something about him. So I turned slowly to look at him, and he's looking at me with his dark glasses on. Something very, what's he going to say? And then he lifts his left hand, gives me the Vulcan sign, and says, live long and prosper. Thank you very much, everybody.
William Shatner, ladies and gentlemen.
So then after all that, he basically just said goodnight, walked off stage. There was no encore. And then after that, maybe 20 minutes later, we had to wait for the house to clear. They got all of us who had upgraded our ticket. I'm going to say there was maybe 150 of us, maybe. We all walked upstairs, and there was a large ballroom, and they had set up a backdrop. There was one guy with a camera, I don't know, Canon 5D or whatever, and it was all next. Go step next to Shatner. Next. And there were people complaining because they had brought some books or photos. They had their iPhones ready. They were complaining that he wouldn't autograph, that there was no autographs and no personal photos. And I'm like, look, the guy is 84. He's been doing this for 50 years. He just wants to go home. I understand that. I'm not holding that against him whatsoever. He doesn't owe me anything at this point. Well, I did spend $125, but he didn't owe me. I got my money's worth just seeing the film. When it was my turn, the usher was like, "Do you want us to hold your stuff?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I didn't want to be any problem at all." I was like, "No, I'll keep it on, no problem." So I kept my coat on. I had my camera around my back. I didn't pull it out or anything, And then they said next, and I stepped up. He looked at me. I said, wow, I was so Star Trek, I can't remember what I said. I said, good evening, Mr. Shatner. And he said, hi. And then we looked at the camera, click. Oh, I put my arm on the back of his chair. I dare not touch the Shat. But I put my arm on the back of his chair, click, next. I said, thank you for everything, Mr. Shatner. And with a big smile, he smiled and said, pleasure meeting you. And then I walked off. And I like to think that he appreciated that I didn't straggle. I didn't try to get into a conversation like we were friends, like so many people try to do with celebrities. I got my photo, got the hell out. And I hope to think that when he got back to his hotel and finally got into his bed, he was like, that black guy, he really understands that I was tired. And I appreciate that. That was my evening with William Shatner. It was really cool, really great. I hope that he comes around again, or if anybody comes around doing that, I'd love to see Star Trek 3, because if you go back into the podcast, you'll see that we did a show where I speculate that Star Trek 3 might be even a better film than Star Trek 2. So if Shatner comes back, or if any of the other cast comes back, I don't care, it was Sulu, if Nichelle Nichols is feeling better, and that would be excellent. If she would come back and host a screening of Star Trek 3, I would absolutely love it. Now, there's another person on Facebook in one of the Star Trek forums that apparently got to see Star Trek 2, not with William Shatner, but the next best thing, in my opinion. He or she got to see it, and they got to hear the score being played live. I would give you a month's salary to be a part of it. I would pay a month's salary to be able to experience that, because I love music. I love soundtrack, movie soundtracks. I'm not going to get into all that. I could be here for another hour. But that sounds amazing too. So if you get a chance, I think Shatner is touring this across the country. If you get a chance, by all means, I suggest you get there if you're a Star Trek fan. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You'll love it. It was simply amazing. Yeah, and that's it. So listen, check us out on Red Shirts, the Star Trek podcast on Facebook. Go to iTunes, subscribe to the Red Shirts, download and subscribe. You can check us out here on YouTube. I've got plenty of videos here that you can check out, plenty of podcasts, YouTube version of the podcast that you can download on iTunes. Check us out on Twitter at RedShirt1701. I think that covers all the bases, but hey, we'll see you on the next show. Take care, everybody.